special program coming to you from Ben Television this beautiful Monday afternoon. We are in Nigeria. We're taking a very special look at issues and development around Nigeria, from economy, of course, to environmental issues. And my guest in the studio today is Dr. Mary Manzo, an environmental activist based in Abuja, Nigeria. Dr. Mary, thank you for joining us on the program one more time today.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Now, if we take a look at Nigeria, but before we go to environmental issue, let's quickly look at Nigeria's economy as it were. Before 2015, naira against pound sterling or dollar, not good, but not very bad. At least 2015, before May, it was 250 to £1, 270. During the election, it shot up to 320, 30, 350. Now, £1 now will give you 620 naira. The value of naira has been wiped out. If you got an investment in Nigeria, you've practically lost 60% of the value of your investment if you were to convert to pound sterling. At what stage did we get to this, when naira practically lost its value?
Thank you very much, Mr. Alabi. You see, I think when we lost a plan, a political plan, a policy that is not well followed and well guided, can lead to disaster. Ever before now, the past regime had most of these issues, templates on their table, and they were looking at the ways in which they can dissect, you know, like the TSA, the issue of the crude oil in the international market, and so on and so forth, how the subsidy can or cannot be introduced, and all these things, you know, were on the table, and they were looking at ways in which they can dissect them one after the other, as a gradual process. But with the coming of the new regime, they plowed into the whole issue and just went straight TSA, bam, subsidy, bam, you know. So many things were locked up at the same time, you know, not allowing the process to take its place, like a gradual thing, introducing it, you know, bit by bit, you know, into the system, so that the system will not be in shock as it is right now. What has happened with all the introduction of all this is that we have gone into a shock, you know, to absorb, you know, the new policies that the government has thrown to the people. That's quite unfortunate, but we can definitely come out of it if we get our cards right on the table. Now the government is talking about agriculture and stuff like that, how we can be able to revamp the economy through agriculture. I hope and I pray that we will be able to invest, you know, rightly into the sector, that, you know, the necessary revenue can be generated from there. But if, again, we as, you know, a people, and the government as, you know, the ones spearheading this project, it's not, you know, putting the right tools, you know, in place to be able to implement again these agricultural policies, you know, that is on the table now, then again we'll be faced with another form of challenge. For me personally, I look at the environment as an environmental activist, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a good one, that we look into agriculture as another source of income or revenue for the government and for the people. But then, on what basis are we operating? If you look at the demography of the country critically right now as we speak, We have the northern part of the country, which we refer to as the Sahel region or the buffer states. And then as we speak, these are states, that are encroached, by desertification. And little has the government done in ensuring that these lost lands, forests or green areas are recovered. And as we also speak, unfortunately, from the northeastern part of the country, as we speak, it's also undergoing its own series of people, loggers, going into our forests and destroying the forest without being checked, without being, prevented. I can confidently tell you that on a daily basis, we have not less than 100 trucks of timber being, will I use the word, exported out of the state to other states of the Federation, and of course, they are being shipped out of the country, So agriculture, yes.
Whose responsibility will it be to monitor timbers being cut down and being driven out of the state and eventually taken out of the country? There should be agencies responsible for maintaining.
We have the forestry. We have the Ministry of Forestry, isn't it? We have the environment. We have the Ministry of Environment. We have the State's Ministry of Environment. NESRA, they are all there. There are lots of ministries that I can't even mention them, that they are being formed on a daily basis to curtail, the actions of men on the environment. But the issue is that most of these things are written, they are documented, but in the area of implementing some of the policies that they have in blueprint, it's where we have the challenge. We have people going into, just like I said earlier, that we have a lot of people going into the forests in the northeastern state, like Taraba to be precise, and cutting down, chopping, harvesting our trees in thousands on a daily basis. And the government is there not stopping them. There are no laws, enforcing the stoppage of these ill actions of what we call them, the loggers, in the forests. And believe you me, if we allow this to continue, the land will be fallow. And if the land is fallow, we need to recover. After that, we plant so that we can get the yield. So do we allow the land to be destroyed, our green areas to be destroyed before now we'll now recover it before we will get the products, So all these things have to be curtailed from the very beginning before we even get to the disastrous stage. And believe me, I'm part of these challenges, environmental challenges, that can add to the economic burden of, the country, is also the issue of security. When we talk about we having the buffer states, you understand, being encroached by desertification, we are talking about the northeast here now, where we're having the problem of
Boko Haram,
even the
insurgency.
No, I mean the desertification is encroaching also there.
The loggers coming
in and chopping our trees, and then we go to the south. We have the issue of the gas flaring and oil spillage. So tell me, the country, if you divide the country into three portions right now, just look at it. Up here is desertification. This way, it's also, we're now encouraging into the desert, into the, forest. And then this way, through the middle of the country, it's the issue of oil spillage and gas flaring. And you can see that the insurgency or the crisis, let me put it that way, is escalating. It's increasing on a daily basis. Aside from the fact that, yes, we know that for political reasons, we have some of these issues coming up, but environmental-wise, some of these things are also associated to the problems that we have on our
So
land.
if in the northeast we have serious desertification where the forests have been locked out and loggers are coming in at will without anybody stopping them, taking out our trees, despite all the security agencies with these functions and policy formulation but not being
That's why
implemented.
our leaders have to be on their toes. They talk. It's time to stop the
Who
talking.
is getting the money from this logging? From the state bank?
Is
The individuals
unfortunately, is the state government.
so the state government collaborate with
They
individuals.
they don't really know. The thing is for us to even know the problem that we are causing. Unfortunately, some of our leaders do not know the damage, the extent to which this kind of action can cause on the environment. So they feel that probably the environment can take care of itself. It's there to the plants will regrow, after some time and stuff like that. No, it took those trees years to be where they were before they were cut down. And so for any leader that has, concern for the environment and of course for safeguarding the future will have to but put this into what do you call it? You have
Policy
to put it
formulation
into,
and
yes,
implementation
yeah.
strategy. So, but basically, there's no implementation strategy for this policy.
I will say yes.
What is the level of environmental damage we have in Nigeria?
It's huge.
Very huge.
Very, very huge.
Is government? Do you see government doing anything to?
Well, they are trying because just recently the past regime had, before now, even during the Obasanjo regime, before Goodluck Jonathan and the present regime, there was for the Sahel region a project which is the Great Green Wall. That project was supposed to be for the recovery of the
lost
forest in the Sahel region of the country or the buffer states of the country. And as we speak today, not much has been done, even though a lot of money has sunk into that project, whereby the ecological fund is part of it. They were supposed to plant as much trees as possible that will run into, the 11 buffer states and of course the northeastern part of the country. But as we speak today, not much has been done as regard that. But recently, I think it's over the news that the present regime is trying to see what they can do to clean up the Ogoni land that's in the south region of the country. So it's now for us to see how far, they will go with that project.
Before we actually come to the South issue, I mean, it's a very critical issue, the South crisis, where we have gas flaring, where some have said we are burning money by gas flaring. This can be turned into some energy and money-making issue. Then we have oil spillage.
Yeah. You see, the problem that
a couple of years ago, BP had oil spillage crisis up the Atlantic Ocean. It was made to pay huge amount of money that almost sink that company in that part of the region.
Yes.
Yet we have oil companies in Nigeria causing oil spillage and getting away with it. Or they claim to be doing something, but not doing enough.
Yeah, they're not doing enough.
So who do we blame? Is it that the government doesn't have a strong policy to make these oil companies clean well and pay? Or the government doesn't even just care?
Believe you me, at this point, I will be forced to say to a great extent that the government is failing the people in some of its responsibility. Just like you did mention, I remembered during the crisis, the BP prices, as the British Petroleum crisis that was in the Gulf of Mexico. I remembered Obama traveling all the way, you know, to address that issue. So it shows the degree of responsiveness of leaders to things that concern the people and the environment. So do we really see that in our system? If I should ask you that question, I think the answer would be no. So the degree of proactiveness of our leaders as regard some of the issues that concern, you know, the people and the destruction of the environment is not apt enough. So I will say they have failed the people. They have failed the people, yes. They need to do more. Because if you look at Chevron, Shell, and other companies that are exploring crude oil in the Niger Delta region of the country, these are companies that are well versed, they have in-depth knowledge of what the action, you know, of the spillage is to the environment and the people. They know exactly what it is. And yes, I know that there were reports that some communities, you know, have been extorting monies from these companies. But of course, even if they do, it is a responsibility of the government to ensure that it comes in to protect the people, not the companies, because the companies are there to make profit, but the people are there as your citizen of the nation. So I think that the government has failed us in that responsibility, but they are trying to work now anyway.
So when you see this Niger Delta crisis claiming, look, you've come into our land, you damaged our land, we can't fish, we can't farm, we don't have quality drinking water. If you see the devastating pictures of this oil producing it's an eyesore.
Aside from the
but the oil companies have actually blamed the community and the agitators, saying they blew up the pipelines, they damaged the pipelines, they caused the oil spillage.
Sorry to cut you short. I would have, you know, agreed with you completely on this, but then did this thing start yesterday? The oil spillage, did it just start yesterday?
Of course not.
Fine, it didn't start yesterday. It started long time ago, even before the Sarawiwa case. You know, we had that issue. Because of that was Sarawiwa was killed. But, you know, let's call a spade a spade. You know, these people, yes, it got to a point where they feel that enough is not done or has not been done by the government in protecting them and protecting the environment. Then, you know, sometimes we kind of jump into conclusion that people are this, they act this way, they do this, they do that. To what extent were you able to protect these people? To what extent were you able to protect the land? These people feed, majority of the people in the Niger Delta are fishermen, or, you know, and the means of livelihood, it's from the farms. They are farmers, they are, you know, and now
fishermen
you now destroy their land through the exploration of crude oil. And at the end of the day, apart from the fact that you just said rightly just a few minutes ago that the environment is a disaster, aside from that, it has effect on the lives of these people. I mean, when I say effect, I mean absolute negative effect. A lot of people are dying as a result of asthma, short of breath. They're talking about acid rain. What not? You're talking about means of livelihood completely cut out from these people. Their social life is completely almost damaged, you know. So you find yourself in such an environment. You are cut out, yet you see that the nation is benefiting from this, from your community, and yet this same community that provides the life wear for the nation, it's in shambles. So you cannot completely, but I think that the government has responsibility to tax these oil companies. They have the responsibility to put sanction on these oil companies to ensure that when they explore, they also take care of the environment. The last time I was in Niger Delta, I was very close to Chevron, and I saw this huge, you know, oil being spilled, and I was like, whoa, look at this company is just here by the corner, and this just a step away from this company, and we are all here watching, you know. So I mean, the government has to do it. The government definitely has to do
if the government had risen up to say, look, Shell, Chevron, Mobil, whatever, you clean up this or you leave our country, is that possible? Okay, we don't.
I wouldn't say
clean up
it's
this.
possible. I wouldn't say it's possible because, of course, the country depends on this, you know, for survival. You know, the major means of revenue for the country is through this.
But Obama
oil.
was able to make BP not only clear its spillage, but pay heavily for that damage to the US.
That is where you have a system that works completely. Yes. Is our system.
So we have a failing on the part of the government.
We have a failing on part of the government, definitely.
Okay, what about the issue of gas flaring?
It's all the same thing. For Nigeria, we would have trapped that gas that is being flared into liquefied natural gas that will be used in our homes. You know, that is a lot of money being wasted on a daily basis. Every day, we're wasting tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and thousands of gas that is supposed to be changed into liquefied natural gas for use in our homes and companies, and name it. So you see, if we continue to shy away from the truth and telling our leaders the truth, we will not get anywhere. And we as a people, we have to voice what we feel and how we feel they should treat us, because we put them there for us. We do not put them there for them. It's a service. And if they only understand that the position of authority they are occupying is not for to show off or to do, but it's a service. It's a service
to the people.
It is a service to the people, and these people vote you into power so that you can be able to serve them well.
But at what point do you see Nigerians taking their destiny into their hand? Are we getting to that point, or we are still far away from that point?
Well, I don't really know what is really going on. There's a lot of confusion, just like I said in our previous. There's a lot of confusion going on.
Are Nigerians more confused than they were before?
I think
more
so.
Divided?
Yes.
More divided, more confused?
More divided, more confused. Yes. Yes, we are. We are more divided, more confused. It's unfortunate.
So what do you see? At what point do you see Nigerians rising up, taking their own destiny into their hands? Are we far away from it, or we are getting close?
What do you mean by taking destiny into their
People
hands?
reacting to circumstances.
Depending on the reaction you're talking about. If we are to go violent, I will say no. You know,
do you see the Arab Spring style in Nigeria?
Anything is possible, but that's not what I see, you know.
Some have said Nigerians are fearful set of people that will never want to die regardless of the circumstances. They love their life. They will never want to lay their life down for anybody.
Yes, I will say yes before now. I will say yes. But I am still not saying that Nigerians are ready to go out on the street, you know, to start, you know, killing or to start destroying, or not yet. I don't think we have reached that stage. But you know, there is a force that is unifying the people, especially the young ones. I said that some time ago. It's unifying the young ones, and that has to do with the way things are being run in the country. We are beginning to realize that, look, our voices, if we unite ourselves together, like recently there was it a demonstration?
Yeah.
Yes, that was engineered by a famous artist in Nigeria.
Who backed out later.
Who backed out later.
Mr. Two-Face.
Yeah, you know. So we had never experienced anything like that before in our country, where one artist or a celebrity will come and say, look, for bad governance, we need to unite our energies together to speak to the government so that they can change some of their policies, or they can act on some of the policies that are already there so as to make it effective and efficient, you know. So seeing that kind of movement and the way and in manner in which people responded, you know, within that short period of time, it sends a lot of signal, you know, to the system that we should be more mindful of how we treat the people.
So we have heavy desertification up north.
Yes.
Yes. We have huge environmental pollution, oil spillage, gas flaring, air pollution in the south.
Yeah.
And we have encroachment coming down the west. So everywhere is in danger.
I think so, because if you look at it critically, part of what we are experiencing, I wanted to say that before, I think I was just carried away by some other information. If you look at the country, just like you rightly spelled out, you know, the issues and the problems, the environmental challenges that we have. The Sahel region, which is like the buffer state, like you have the country this way, these states up here form the buffer states, and how the situation is that desert has encroached this part of the country, and because the people up here have what do you call it?
Which one will form the Borno, Sokoto?
The green, yeah, we have Maiduguri, we have Sokoto, we have Jigawa, we have Bauchi, we have Yobe, we have Gombe, we have, where did I? Kano, yeah. We have Katsina, and so on and so forth.
They form the buffer state.
Yes, they form the buffer state, you know.
The green zone.
The green zone. Now, because they don't have means of livelihood, which is, they are mostly also farmers, and the means of livelihood is being cut, and most of them
through desertification.
Through desertification, most of them also from that axis of the country have livestock, and in form of the cattle, Fulani cattle rearers that we see, and unfortunately, because they don't have grazing.
So the land has become fallow?
The land has become fallow, and because they don't have much grazing area anymore at that region.
Due to the certification.
Due to the certification, they are moving
their
hinterland. Down south. Okay? And now, this way, also there's a pressure from the south, because the land is polluted, or has been polluted. They too have little, let me say, green area for cultivation. And they are also moving towards the hinterland. So there is a pressure now for land that is the green area that is at the middle belt or the middle axis of the country. These people down south are moving upward. This one up are moving downward in search of green area for their cattle, for the farmers, and so on and so forth. And because the pressure now is mounting, then some of the crises that we're experiencing in the country is not just about politics, it's about the environment, because they are looking for where they can also feed their animals and also farm and get water.
It does seem government is, I mean, from your analysis so far, you as an environmental activist, government doesn't seem to, though it does have policy, but doesn't seem to be implementing effectively these policies to curtail this dangerous trend in the country.
Absolutely.
Where does it leave us as Nigerians? If you see people coming up north looking for, taking their cattle, their herds, and looking for green zone to feed their cattle and their herds, and then you see people in the south, due to pollution, environmental hazards, coming again up.
Yeah.
So we have pressure.
Yeah, you have pressure at the middle area of the country.
And so those on ground themselves do not want to yield ground.
If you look at it critically, if we are to go by what is going on in the country now, you look at Kaduna State, even though part of it is politics, you still see the Fulani headsmen going into people's land and, you know, destroying lands and so on and so forth. You go to the Middle Belt, you go to Jos, the same thing is happening. You go to Nasarawa, it's happening there now. You go to Kogi, it's happening there as well. You know, so if you look at the country as it is right now, there's a lot of crisis going on, you know, apart from the economic hardship, you know. So the government has to, it's a matter of urgency. To believe you me, it's a matter of urgency.
And the people responsible for this desertification, they are not relenting, and government is not doing anything to stop them.
That is what we're seeing.
So we're probably sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
I think so.
Likely?
Likely.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, I may have to call off at the stage. Dr. Mary Manzo, it's been a pleasure sharing some of this information with Dr. Mary Manzo. He is a specialist, an environmental activist, a campaigner, talking about protecting our environment and our green space. And I mean, she's given us very not very good analysis of how desertification is driving the earthmen down the country, and how environmental pollution, air pollution, gas flaring, oil spillage also driving the people in the southern part up a little bit. And so we have pressure at the center. Also we have some encroachment in the western part as well. But again, there are policies that have been formulated. There are agencies responsible for protecting this environment, these green zones. But as many as some of these agencies are, as many as some of these policies are, I mean, from Dr. Mary Manzo's, we are having issues with implementation. Hopefully, government will be watching this program and they'll be getting the information we are giving to you today. Dr. Mary Manzo, thank you for coming on the program. We look forward to seeing you again the next time you are in town.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, this is how far we can go on this very special edition on the program. My name is Tunde Alabi. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
And flat screen cable television, Bavidi Luxury Hotel. Our exquisite restaurant and full bar are simply second to none.